Welcome back to the show, everybody. Take a look at the numbers while we run the headlines today. Coinbase ETH merge. We need to talk about that. The SEC is suing again. You need to know it. Congratulations to Ripple. We'll get into it. Ron Hammond this week in Congress. Patrick McHenry from Congress is talking about Ripple. You're going to want it. Swift and XRP patent, you're going to want that. And how about this? XRP takes 60% total volume of the largest Latin American exchange. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Take a look at this. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. $1.1 trillion market cap for crypto right now. Bitcoin 23,700 plus, Ethereum 1,800 plus, and we see XRP back at the number 6 spot this morning at 37 cents. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. And right now I want to tell you, SoftBank's VC management partner hailed Blockdaemon's product as a foundational layer to blockchain industry with ease to use products and services. Well, listen, Blockdaemon is on Link2. Private investing made simple with the rest of these amazing products. And as you can see, Link2 fully subscribed. And I don't find that to be really mind-blowing because they're offering these incredible opportunities. And it is really easy to see why Link2 is probably sold out at the moment. And I tell you, remember this, if you see more Link2 come on this platform, just know this, they're not having any more shares. It's like land in Manhattan. So if you see more on there, I wouldn't mess around. A lot of these are top sellers, including Ripple, BitPay, and others like Uphold. I want some more Uphold, but say it with me. But obviously you can get Blockdaemon and all these great products. Zipline just recently partnered with NASA. How about that? I'd like to go to the moon with both of those. But look, you can go check it out, link2.com. Click the link underneath my video. Don't mess around. That stuff goes very, very quickly. This right here, and it starts with this. Breaking SEC files suit against Dragon Chain over $16.5 million ICO. And look, if we get into this, it really looks a lot like a smaller version of what Ethereum did. I'm not going to take you down through the article here, but what I am going to show you is this. And is it what I wanted to see? No, it's not that. That's the merge. We'll get into that in a second. But what I wanted to show you here is really this. Stephen Hubert says, I think I made it more than clear. Every ICO is illegal securities offering except Ethereum. Showing the picture of William Hinman here, who had 15 million reasons to say that Ethereum was not a security in that speech. But look, there is trouble coming potentially. I don't want to see bad things happen to Ethereum holders, but the reality is we know that they did not do it the right way. You know, that is the truth, and it's unfortunate, but there is enough information out here for all of us to publicly know it. We're going to get into whether they could be held accountable or not in just a second. But right here, as far as the ETH merge goes, Coinbase is going to pause ETH ERC20 deposits withdrawals during the merge. Coinbase shares dropped 7% to a session low, they say. But you know what? I say, oh, damn. The part that really gets me about all of this is we know that Joseph Lubin, Vitalik Buterin, both sat on a stage together and admitted that Ethereum was a prototype and that it was somewhat scalable. Now, ETH 2.0 is around the corner. We have to ask ourselves, is that going to be somewhat scalable prototype for ETH 3.0? You know, Tipsy Tiger brings it home here. He says it will be marginally quicker, roughly 10%. There will still be high gas fees and a marginal improvement to scalability. In other words, it may be released, but a crap load of work still to do. Plus all the capital locked up for 6 to 12 months in most volatile industry. Yeah, I'm with you there, Tipsy Tiger, no doubt about it. And on the legal front, whether some accountability could be brought to that, what I believe is the first unregistered ICO that got a free pass, Eleanor Terrett says here the SEC legally has until 2024 to penalize Ethereum for its unregistered ICO. Will it? Only time will tell, Eleanor Terrett said. Shout out to you, Ellie. And I tell you, shout out to Michael Branch. Give him a follow as well. This is Devin Morthy right here. Senior manager, business development, APAC at Ripple, is now heading on over to Devin Morthy, former Ripple executive, has joined the Algorand Foundation as head of ecosystem access. As soon as I saw it, I thought of this, the Michael Arrington tweet where he basically said, Algorand and Ripple can live together happily ever after. And this is very interesting because I wonder if this is more like a transition team move. Congrats to Algorand for Devin going over there. But I have to wonder because that there's going to be a handful of protocols that will work together to support the new Internet of Value. Just as we have a handful of protocols that support the existence of the Internet of Information that we're using right now. Congratulations here from the Digital Pound Foundation to everyone at Ripple, the entire team, for being voted as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States of America. We are proud to have Ripple be a part of the DPF's journey in advocating for new forms of digital money in the UK, the Digital Pound Foundation. And here is Christina Campbell from Ripple, says she's proud to be a part of the Ripple team today and every day. We're having a record year with Ripple net growth, 9 times year-over-year growth for on-demand liquidity in Q2, and 600 plus employees globally. They are honored to be recognized for their continued exponential growth on the 5,000 list. And I tell you, I couldn't be happier for them because they're doing all of this as if they've already lost the SEC lawsuit, and regardless to that. So I find that to be really a strong characteristic trait of that company and certainly Brad Garlinghouse's leadership. This week in Congress, very quickly here from Ron Hammond, thank you. They sat down and talked with all the staffers, but this is what they had here. Legislation this year, there have been a record number of bills introduced this year on digital asset regulation, but a few progressed far in Congress like most bills. However, there's a slight chance that bills around stable coins and defining a broker could move. Tornado Cash, this is still a lot of noise around this issue, but two things hold true. The government will crack down on anything funding North Korea's nuclear efforts, but sanctioning code is a new territory and equally concerning. They are actively monitoring the issue. Bipartisanship. Crypto still remains a very bipartisan issue with most divisions stemming from generational differences rather than political ideologies. Groups like Block Caucus are growing faster than ever, and members range from conservatives to progressives. It says here, election. There are a lot of implications in 2023 with the election. It seems the R's will take the House, but the Senate is still a toss-up. And our House will be heavily focused on the SEC oversight and crypto legislation, particularly around stablecoins, tax, and securities laws. Yeah, and that's well needed right there. CBDCs, this is an issue many on both sides of the aisle are not sold on. Passing legislation to fully authorize a CBDC doesn't seem plausible at the moment. While some Ds are pushing for a CBDCs, there are many concerned about privacy and if stablecoins already fill the role. We're going to get more into that in just 1 second here. Stakeholder engagement. Advocates from industry have drastically ramped up educational efforts on the Hill since the infrastructure bill, but there is still more work to be done. Any way to break down tough to understand issues in everyday terms helps those not in the weeds. Says timing, Congress moves slow, but there is a general consensus that activity in DC around crypto has ramped up significantly. It is likely the next 2 to 3 years will be a pivotal time in Congress as they begin exercising their legislative and oversight authority. Buckle up. So he knows things are coming and we do too. This is Patrick McHenry right here. And as John Deaton says, we can only hope that when Patrick McHenry becomes chair of the Financial Services Committee, he has hearings on the SEC's overreach. I'm working on an op-ed that will highlight the absurdity of the SEC's unauthorized and unlawful expansion of what constitutes an investment contract under Howey. But here you're going to hear Patrick McHenry, Congressman, talk about Ripple. Listen.
You have an amalgamation of technology companies like Ripple and others who are trying to integrate it all, but they're existing outside the regulatory regime and needing to partner with banks. What's the solution here? Because the problem is real.
So, people talk about the solution set around distributed ledger, around Ripple. Ripple's a fantastic example of this sort of breakthrough technology, but then they have to reverse engineer how to comply with the existing regime. So this is why we have to have a different orientation with regulation. Now, it's not to say regulation is good or bad, right? We're not going to get in this debate about whether or not regulation is good or bad. It's good if you like the end result. It's bad if you don't like the end result. Simple as that.
It really is as simple as that. And it's great to hear them recognize that Ripple is in the conversation. And you could tell that they're all well versed on what Ripple does and why it's a fantastic example of distributed ledger technology. But we got more. Now it comes down to whether we have a private stable coin used as a digital dollar or whether a directly federally issued, Federal Reserve issued CBDC goes to retail. And this gentleman right here, Greg Baer, is going to give you why that's a problem if you use a CBDC issued by the Federal Reserve. And then we're going to hear Chris Giancarlo tell us why the private sector is the best way to go, but maybe we should adopt a value protocol so that way we can all have the constitutional rights when we use this private protocol. Take a listen.
We actually already have two types of digital dollars in this country. The first is your bank account, which is actually in digital dollars, not cash. That's referred to as commercial bank money. When you send or receive money using Venmo or ACH or RTP or take a direct deposit, that's all digital dollars in the form of commercial bank money. And that commercial bank money is your asset and the bank's liability. Central bank money currently is only in the form of reserves. It's an asset of the bank, a liability of the Fed. So a CBDC would be a new version of central bank money where you would effectively have an account with the Fed. It would be your asset and it would be the Fed's liability. Of course, what that means is if you transfer a dollar from your bank account to a CBDC, that dollar would no longer be funding the bank's assets, that is primarily loans. Instead, it would be funding the Fed's assets, which are primarily historically Treasury debt and Fannie and Freddie debt, so also known as agency debt. Thus, every dollar moved from deposits to CBDC is a dollar funding government, not the private sector.
There's your problem. There's your problem right there. And I believe, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, that's why Brian Brooks pushed the idea that there should be a USD private sector stablecoin used instead of the USD CBDC. And I also believe that is why we have, and there's another thread down here too. He repeatedly stated here, it says here, Wall Street lobbyists are bashing the idea of a digital dollar from the Fed. Well, and I think that they should, because I don't think that's a good idea. I think the CBDC could be wholesale back end, certainly, but not retail facing. He repeatedly stated the private sector should solve the issue of upgrading the dollar by the use of a stable coin. That's exactly right. I believe that is true. And the reason I believe it is true is because of this right here. In that same conversation later on, I asked Chris Giancarlo, who suggested because we are witnessing social media act as the arm of the government to create outsourced censorship. We've seen this happen over the last few years. It has been horrible to watch. But that means if we're going to not see this happen with digital money and a U.S. private stable coin like USD coin, we may need to adopt a value protocol and hold that protocol to a constitutional standard, which would respect all of our privacies and our rights. I asked Christian Carlo in that conversation, are you suggesting that the government should consider adopting a protocol of value for the internet to ensure that the Fourth Amendment and other freedoms and privacies are respected for the new financial system / digital dollar? He says it's worth considering. Well, it is worth considering because there are real implications taking place here. And this is not breaking news, but I want to bring it down to rubber meets the road. Why is this really worth considering? Because even on the deeper side of on the shallow side of just you and I using it on a consumer level, what we're talking about is a deeper side as well with partnership potentially with Swift and XRP and Ripple. This is not breaking news here. This has been out for a while. So if you're new to the space, this has been information that's been available. This is a patent between Swift and, well, that not between them, I should say, but references a relationship that could be between someone like Swift and Ripple and XRP. And you can see right here where it talks about this, right? Settlement gateway of Payers Bank, send way of non-limiting, example, XRP to native cryptocurrency, Ripple protocols, right? It's all highlighted right here. You can see there's many, many examples. All this is here. I've gone through this, I don't know, it's probably close to a year ago, but this is the actual patent itself. You can pull it up. It's underneath the thread that I've got on my profile. Many settlement systems and characteristics by effective one-way transmission, polarity of data in any given financial transaction, for example, systems based on Swift messaging. It really is a compliment because it helps bring together what Swift is not able to do. It is a messaging system. It can be instant payment, but it can't be instant settlement. But it could be with the use of Ripple's technology in the XRP token and the XRP ledger for sure. So as we think about the real implications of that, I want to remind people of this that Digital Asset Investor shared, I believe it was yesterday. So this is Bob Way, who I interviewed back in 2019, who hit the scene pretty hard, and he's been off the scene for a while now. But Bob was very key in the early days at Ripple as an employee there, and he was a hardworking guy who helped develop in war strategy and work it out in the war room. How do we do this, right? And he played a key part in creating certain patents and things of that nature. And I asked Bob in this interview about the idea of, you know, pre-allocation and escrow of XRP and to the banks. And it is not a conspiracy. And we know for a fact that R3 had an options contract, which is a pre-contractual agreement to pre-allocate a certain amount of something, which in this case was XRP, to them if they did a certain amount of things to earn it, right? And obviously those options contracts can also be structured so that that customer client cannot turn around and receive it and then dump it on the market and do harm to the network. Listen to what Bob says here.
I also think it's important to remember about escrow that there could be portions along the way here that are allocated for entities like banks who understand we're not going to be like the record company, put us on until we're going to get our blockchain together and all our this together and get their stuff in-house together, but it's waiting for them at a certain point as well. So is that a little too optimistic, or is that fair to say?
So let me expand on that a little bit, but that's generally fair to say. And that's what
it's generally fair to say, and it is generally fair to say, because we know that R3 did it, right? We know that Greg Kidd had $1 billion option on, or $1 billion XRP option. So, you know, it's not impossible. Now, what's interesting here is Fred Rispoli brings up a good point here. He says, anyone dived into the documents one receives when buying Ripple stock? I would think Ripple has some obligation to private investors to disclose whether the 50-ish billion escrowed XRP is not an asset of the Ripple allocated to other parties. There are ways to legally hide it, though. Yeah, and I'd love to know that too, and to what degree, because it doesn't mean that all 50 billion are allocated, but the word escrow certainly does mean third party, and I have speculated not only on this topic, but which obviously to a degree is confirmed, but I would also say that I've speculated to the idea that the escrow suggests third party, which I have always believed is probably poli-sci. Now, speaking to why it's so important, when we go back to what Patrick McHenry said about the idea of, understanding, a great example like Ripple and distributed ledger technology, and the gentleman talking to him about how to get these things into the financial system, because it's a real problem. In order for a token to have value, the value has to be in the protocol. I'm keeping my eye on the ball. Listen to Chris Giancarlo here and Glenn Hutchins, former New York Federal Reserve president.
In an internet of value, we're going to have these protocols. And so they have value. The value is in the network. The value is in and when we trade the tokens, in the same way we trade shares of Tesla, we're basically taking a view onto that digital future, right? But the future of money, the future of value, the future of financial services is in networks, just as the future of everything else that we've learned over the last 30 years is in the values in the network. And I tell people all the time when they come to me and said, I just heard about this great new crypto, whatever coin, what do you think? And I say, well, I really don't know anything about it, but I'll tell you what, if there's not value in the underlying protocol, if you don't think that protocol is going to stand the test of time and have the potential to be one of the 30 or 40 protocols that will eventually power an internet of value around the world, then it's just for speculation purposes. And maybe next month it'll be up and maybe it's worth, but I wouldn't place a long-term bet on it.
And I'm about to show you a clip after this. A piece of news is going to show you that there's real value in the XRP Ledger protocol.
But the most important piece, which is one that people aren't focusing on, is the protocol. The underlying protocol by which we agree to conduct these transactions. So you use a series of protocols every day and you don't even think about it. You don't think about the internet protocol. You don't think about the simple mail technology protocol. You don't think about the file transfer protocol. You don't think about the high text translation protocol. I can go through it, right? You just make use of the technology and the protocols make it work. The people who really understand what's going on with digital currencies understand that putting these protocols in place, the blockchain protocol, the Ethereum protocol, the Ripple protocol, the Ripple protocol, the Ripple protocol, and then enabling those protocols to cause transactions to occur. And then those transactions can be defined very broadly as not just moving things of value, but anything that's got an information content is extraordinarily transformative. The focus on the value of the token is distracting and uninformative.
It sure is. And look at this when you talk about value in the protocol. According to a recent report from the analytical agency Kaiko, XRP takes up more than 60% of the daily trading volume on Bitso, one of the two largest crypto exchanges in Latin America. When we get down into this very quickly here, it says here, in this case, the daily turnover of the exchanges is from $20 to $30 million in pairs denominated in the key currencies of the region. That is without taking into account the simpler transactions of ordinary users. The secret of such large occupation of XRP trading volumes on Bitso is the partnership between Ripple and the exchange. Bitso is Ripple's on-demand liquidity corridor in Latin America. Thanks to this partnership, concluded just under 2 years ago, Bitso has been able to increase the number of users. Users have been able to optimize remittances coming out of the United States. Ripple has established a solid presence in this activity, an intense market, and XRP has gained extremely large turnover numbers. That's what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, right? And it goes on and on and on, and it sets it up and says it all again, right? So the reality is, as I said, there will be others whose spite for me rivals their own intelligence because they want to cancel me, and Ripple's very own words as well. The fact of the matter is Ripple has been buying back XRP to redirect sales to on-demand liquidity partners. Why would they go through the effort only to watch the on-demand liquidity partners sell it back to retail exchanges? So what we get down to is really this, because I think Agent here has really got it to where I've been stuck. This is where my needle's stuck. He said, I was thinking about this after dropping the kids off at school. If Ripple's buying only to on-demand liquidity exchanges, Their role is like a sump pump, collecting XRP from the open market, essentially, and directing it back to on-demand liquidity exchanges, probably to keep them topped off and allow on-demand liquidity to continue. That means if XRP is bought on an on-demand liquidity exchange and sold on another ODL exchange, one of the two things is happening. Either retail or other sales are depleting XRP from these exchanges, or on-demand liquidity flown is net unidirectional, bought on exchange 1 and sold on exchange 2, depleting one of them. Exactly. This is exactly what I've been saying. This is what I'm saying to you. Shout out to Big Skinny. This is, I mean, here's where we are now. Here's where the questions are now. The question is now, if we don't get the clarity from the retail investor side that we hope to, will we see the XRP dry up on the retail exchanges? If we do get the clarity that we want to, will we see a massive relist on all the exchanges? I don't know which will happen, and we will have to wait until we find out. But what I do know is Ripple is operating in a manner that is servicing the clients and customers and the side of business they have always said that they were going to service, because they are not consumer facing in any way. The question is open, and it still remains. That's where we're at here. I'm going to leave it right there. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Share with somebody you know. Check out all the links underneath the description box and comment section. They are great products and services that I use each and every day, or I would not have them there. There's no question about it. I'm not a financial advisor, and neither is Agent Smith or anyone else. Make sure you always vet everything we cover here on this channel. It's how we get the best out of one another. I'll catch all of you on the next one.